Latina Love Diaries. New chapter. Who this? Hey! Starting over. Who this ain't over? Corazón on bliss. Café en la mañana, dreams en la mente. Glow up, baby, tú eres suficiente. Latina Love Diaries. Press play on mi vida.
And welcome to the Latina Love Diaries, Season 2, Episode 11. I'm your host, Carolina. As you can see, we've had a change of scenery. We're outside for today's episode. Let's see how that works out. And this is my second solo video episode. I've decided to wait one more episode before I bring on a guest so that I could feel a little more comfortable talking to the camera and looking at myself on video. As I mentioned before, I have body dysmorphia, which can cause me some issues when I'm recording. And so, I'm still new at this video format. I'm trying it as I go, so bear with me as I feel more comfortable with this format. In today's episode, I'm calling the feminine pivot. And it really ties in to our previous episode where we talked about the peace paradox and how sometimes after you've been living in survival mode or in this warrior zone for so long, you can have these moments of anxiety when everything should be peaceful, that it becomes hard for your body, and sometimes you have panic attacks when there's really nothing to worry about. And it's not because, it's something wrong with you, it's because your body has become used to this fight or flight mode, right? And so in the feminine pivot, I want to talk about a little bit about what it takes to go from being in that war and survival mode and going into your soft feminine energy. How hard that can be. Because I know for me, that's something that is still happening. It's still a process that's ongoing, and it hasn't been easy. It's been very hard. I'm somebody that, for a long time, I was in my masculine energy. And I think one of the things that most helped me to begin to feel in my soft feminine energy really was safety. When I was able to feel safe is the first time that I really was able to relax. In fact, while the divorce and everything was going on and all of that was happening, I remember my first trip out here to California when I was with my mystery giant, and just the relaxation that I was able to feel because I felt safe, because I wasn't looking over my shoulder. And so I think that that's why I was able to let my guard down with him and kind of embrace that soft feminine part of myself, which is not something I'd ever really felt before. That's kind of something that he brought out in me through the course of our time together and his actions, right? But really it all began with feeling safe. It started with that first initial trip here, and then really happened when we left Texas last May. When we left last May, I remember we were driving across and we hit that Texas border going into New Mexico, and you see that welcome to New Mexico sign. And my son, who was in the passenger side, looked at me and said, "We did it. We made it." And I knew exactly what he meant. He meant we made it out. We made it safe. We were out of his reach. We were out of his grasp, and we were going to be okay. And I totally understood that because I remember looking at him and I said, yes, we did make it. And I gave thanks to God right then and there. And I breathed a huge sigh of relief because I knew I was out of Texas and I was out of his grasp. And my kids were out of his grasp. And no longer would this manic energy control my life and be a part of my life and make me have ups and downs, right? And so that's really where it began for me, in that, that first feeling of safety. Because the truth is, during the course of my 11-year relationship and my 8-year marriage, I spent a lot of that time in my masculine energy. I was the main decision maker. I was the person holding it all together. I'm not going to say I was the only provider or I was the main provider, because I will give it to my ex. He was always a really, really good provider, and he was always a hard worker, and he was always making sure that we were taken care of. But I was the one handling all of the bills and really the head of the household. That wasn't something that he could handle well with his bipolar, along with his own duties at work. So I took over everything. And it was really something that put me in that masculine energy, and I needed to be in that energy in order to survive the chaos that was constantly happening around me when he had his manic ups and downs. And so it was like this this energy I had to live in to make everything normal for the kids, because I didn't want the kids to realize that there was something wrong. Obviously kids are a lot smarter than we give them credit for. So they did know that something was wrong. And, eventually later on, after a couple of years, me and my son talked about it. But at that moment in time, I thought that I was doing everything possible to keep everything together and keep as much of a sense of normalcy as I could for my kids. And because I was doing this and I was juggling all these balls in the air, I was in my masculine energy. I was always one surviving in that energy, basically. It's where I stayed for many, 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 many years. For me, starting over here in California, it wasn't just about a sense of, oh, sorry, there's a bee by here. It wasn't just about a sense of changing my zip code, right? It wasn't about changing my zip code. Get out of here, bee. It wasn't about changing my zip code. It was about changing my frequency. I didn't just want to get away from him physically. I wanted to go to a better place where my energy was shifted. And for me, one of the places where I've always been able to balance myself and shift my energy has been the ocean. And so, I had been coming here on these trips to California for 3 years. It only made sense that I moved here at the time. It made sense. And so the move here wasn't just about changing my physical address. It was about changing my frequency, changing my vibration, and being in a place that allows me to vibrate at a higher level so that I'm able to attract the things that I want, so that I'm able to create the life that I want. I'm a big believer in energy work. I'm an energy worker. I'm a huge believer in energy affecting everything around us and being a part of everything around us. And I use that energy. And so now I wanted access to different energy because I wanted to create. I'm in my creative mode. And so that's, one of the reasons that I chose California. And it really has a lot to do with the energy here. Moving here was really a catalyst for me for the realization that I had spent so much time in warrior mode. And yeah, that was great for protecting my kids and for protecting my household. But if I want to create my life, if I want to embrace my goals, if I want to achieve my dreams, I have to be in creator mode. I'm a woman. We are the creators of life, and we have a portal. There's a reason we have this portal, between our legs, and it's the way that we create life. And we have that vital source of energy within us. And so I wanted to tap into that. And for me, that meant being in a place that was close to the ocean. And it really does help me a lot to be able to swim in the Pacific. So that was one of the reasons why I really chose California. I wanted to create this new life for myself, and I knew that I needed access to that energy. And then coming here and feeling that safety and having access to that energy, it really helped me to be able to start embracing the feminine aspects of myself. It changed how I dress. I love pink again. That is something that's true. I hated pink for a long time. And now that I'm healing and I'm embracing my soft feminine side, I love pink again. I haven't worn pink in a very, very long time. But now I do wear it. Now I do wear it. So, these things are all signs of embracing that softer side of myself, right? And in order to do that, it meant I really had to unlearn that do-it-all mentality, that hyper independence that I have, that I am so reluctant to ask for help. I try to do everything myself. And, that really is a sign of trauma because I've never been able to count on anybody. I've always had just me. And I'm so used to doing things it's just me, right? It's just me all the time. And so I have that hyper independence. I have that do-it-all attitude. And that's not really a good thing when you're trying to embrace your soft feminine side either. You want to know when to put that down. And that's something that I really, really had to unlearn, is kind of how to let go of my warrior brain and embrace more my softer feminine side. For me, again, being in that feminine energy really does require a sense of safety, which is why it took me so long to be able to feel that. It really has been, I think, since I've been living here in California, where I have been able to experience that. Because for a long time, for a couple of years, I wasn't safe. I didn't have a feeling of safety. And it was really Mr. Big who helped me feel safe again in the beginning with the little trips and the little getaways, my visits to him, our time together. It really started to help me regulate my nervous system, which had been thrown so out of whack because of so many years of living in this chaos. So it was something that I really, really, really needed. And I'm glad, that I was able to kind of tap into that energy, because it has helped me. Tapping into that soft feminine energy has helped me to be able to start creating this life that I want, and to feel better about myself and embrace different aspects of myself that I had long forgotten. Meeting Mr. Big really helped me and changed a lot for me. He helped me figure out how to navigate a path to the goals that I wanted. He helped me put together my move to California, and, our projects together, his actions towards me, really all of these things combined, the Hallmark experiences that he gives me, all of that really helped me to go right into kind of that feminine energy, that soft energy that's not my usual go-to spot. In the beginning, it was really uncomfortable for me to be vulnerable with him, and to even be able to say, hey, this is what happened to me, and this is why sometimes I cry for no reason, or this is why sometimes we're out in public and I just start shaking. And to have to explain the things that I've gone through to somebody else, and that was really, really, really hard for me. But being able to be open and being vulnerable with him and handing him these worries, he handled them, and he helped me to understand that I was going to be okay, that it was okay to do my best, and to remember that I'm safe. And, that's something that I do now. I constantly do whenever those panic attacks come up. Whenever that comes up, I remember I'm safe. I close my eyes. I'm safe. I'm not being hurt right now. He can't get to me. I'm okay. They're thriving. We're far away. So that's something that I do to remember. But, it wasn't easy to get to this place where I can embrace that feminine soft side of me. As I mentioned, it was something that was really pretty hard. But as a result of being able to do that, my kids have seen an entirely different side of me that they hadn't seen before, right? They're getting to see the soft side of me where I'm being given gifts, I'm being brought chocolates, I'm smiling for no reason in the daytime. I'm going away on these wonderful vacations. I'm really getting to embrace this different side of myself, and they're getting to see that. And I think that's wonderful, because for a long time, all they saw was mom handling everything, mom in survival mode. Mom is busy. Mom, don't bother mom. She's got a lot going on. And now it's a very different side of me that they're seeing. And I'm really, really thankful for that, because they're getting to see a me that's peaceful, that's creative. I'm creating art, I'm writing, I'm creating a bunch of things again, joy. And all of these things, they're helping me to function better as a mom, as a woman. Being able to embrace this part of myself is really helping all aspects of my life. Even this podcast is a result of me having that space to feel safe enough to be able to express myself, to tell my story, calm enough to be able to have space in my home, or even be able to be outside in the middle of the day and tell this story. All of these are things that wouldn't have been possible for me before. And so this podcast is a direct result of me having the mental space and the mental capacity to be able to create again, and using my story as a way to even track my own evolution, how I'm changing, how I've grown throughout this whole time. As the Carolina that I was in 2023 is very different than the one that's here today. I mean, I was riddled with anxiety and crying all the time. It wasn't really until, I would say, earlier this year that horrific crying was able to stop. And again, a big part of that was being able to embrace that soft feminine part of myself, to be able to feel safe again. I think that is, if I could say anything, it's that. What really helped me to be able to embrace that soft and feminine side of myself was the feeling of safety. I don't live with a man. I live with just me, my kids. I moved my mom in with me. So I am still the top dog. I'm still the protector, but I am physically safe now, and I am able to, do these things for myself that I didn't have the mental capacity to do before. I buy flowers for my home. I put crystals on the windows, decorate with art that moves me and that I love. I invest in art, something that I've always wanted to do but was never able to do. Buy art pieces that call to me, that maybe seem silly to somebody else, but that they speak to me. And so being able to do all of that and being able to embrace that feminine side of myself is really what helped me to also be able to tell my story and have this podcast going and even be able to switch to video format now. You know, something that I hadn't even thought about before because I was so self-conscious. But now, yeah, I still have body dysmorphia. Yeah, I'm still self-conscious, but you know what? It no longer matters to me because I feel so comfortable and I just want to share my story, right? I just want to create in whatever form that is, whether that's art, whether that's writing, whether that's telling my story physically. I want to create. And really moving here to California and being so close to the ocean has inspired me so much to create. Not only to create works of art and to write, but to create the life that I want, to think about what it is that I want my life to look like and how I'm going to make that happen, you know? And that's something that living here has really, really helped me to kind of be able to have the space to think about, having access to the ocean. You know, now I have time to think about who I am when I'm not just surviving. Who am I when I'm not just a mom? Who am I outside of being a mom and outside of being the provider for my household? Who am I as Carolina? Who am I as a woman, right? And slowly that's something that I'm finding out here. What I do know is that I'm an artist. I always have been. I'm a creator. I love to create in all forms. I'm spiritual. I love to meditate. I love to do things to enhance my connection to God. I have a very, very strong connection to God, and I am very spiritual. It's something that drives a lot of aspects of my life. And so that's something that I can devote time and space to now as well, and finding out where does that spiritual journey take me? I don't know. I'm on it still. But all of these are things that I'm able to reconnect with myself. You know, I'm adventurous. I love to try new things. I've been skydiving. I've been on hot air balloons. You know, this was all 20 years ago, but I used to do stuff. And I want to get back to that. You know, I think having this ability to feel in my feminine energy has reawakened these other aspects of myself that I had long forgotten and thought were gone. And no, they're still in here somewhere. And you know what? They're coming back out. And I'm going to discover over the course of this year here who I am when I am able to embrace the soft side of myself more, right? Who am I? What happens? What does my life look like then? I'm very excited to share that with you guys. You know, basically I was able to put down the shield that I carried for a long time, because I did. I carried a shield for a long time. I was able to put it down, and I was able to pick up the paintbrush and start painting what I wanted my life to look like. And once I was able to do that, I was able to start creating it. And I'm still there. I'm busy making my apartment look how I want it to look, so that in every corner, in every place that I look, on every wall, there is something that brings me joy. There is something that makes me smile. I'm working on myself to allow myself to receive love without feeling anxiety. I can recognize now that so much of my anxiety is just related to past trauma and not necessarily a part of who I really am. And so this is all stuff that I'm going to be working on over the course of this year. Creating this podcast has become a way for me to speak my world into existence. I am creating the life that I want, and I'm using the podcast to tell my story and attract the energy that I need to do so. And really, it's become a way, again, to use my story to chart my own evolution, to chart how things have changed in my life, and for me personally, you know, as who am I, right? How have I changed at the end of all of this? And so I have to remember, you know, constantly that being in my feminine energy isn't a sign of weakness. It isn't. It doesn't mean I'm really soft or whatever. No, I'll still kick your ass. It just means that it's my reward for all of the hard work that I've put in, for all of the things that I have done for myself, for the provider that I am for me. It is my reward. And now I get to be in that soft and feminine energy, because I put myself there, because I'm giving myself the soft feminine life. And it's something that, you know, again, it hasn't been easy, but it is something that I'm doing little by little. And I'm really excited to see where it takes me. But again, it wasn't something that happened overnight. One of the first things that had to happen was I had to feel safe. I had to feel safe in order to be able to relax and to feel soft. And once I felt safe, then I had to tap into the female side of myself. And I had to start figuring out who I am, what I love to do, and I love to create. And once I opened up myself to that energy of creation, once I started having the space to meditate again, to connect with God again, to have my coffee in the mornings in peace without feeling like there was a panic attack coming on because something needed to be done or I'm walking on eggshells. When I was finally able to have that is when I was able to relax and feel comfortable within my own feminine energy. So I would say, for you, for anyone looking to figure out how do you put yourself in that soft feminine energy? How do you give yourself the soft life when you are still the provider, when you're the top dog? Well, you got to take time, right? You got to take time. You got to take time for yourself. You got to make sure that you feel safe. If you don't feel safe, then you're not going to be able to relax into the soft feminine side of yourself. So you got to provide yourself with safety, whatever that means to you, whether it means moving, whether it means cutting people out of your life, whatever it is that means, you have to ensure that you feel safe. And then after that, start tapping into the things that you love. Do you love to skate? Do you love to play sports? Do you love to draw? Do you want to just walk in nature? Do little things, little by little, every week that bring you more in touch with nature and with who you are. And the more in touch with nature that you get, the more you will balance out your energy and start to figure out which way you want to flow. And when you achieve that flow state, man, that's when everything starts to happen. So I would say to put yourself in that feminine energy, make sure you're safe. Take time out every week, whether it's just 30 minutes to be alone with yourself, whether it's a walk, whether it's a bubble bath, whatever that is. Take 30 minutes to be alone with your thoughts and with yourself, so you can tap in, so you can check in with yourself and decide, hey, how's this week going? Am I happy? Is there something I could be changing? What's going on? So check in with yourself. Take time to do things that make you feel pretty and girly, even if you don't feel pretty and girly. Dye your hair, paint your nails at home, buy a new lipstick. Whatever it is that makes you feel feminine, take a little time and do one thing for yourself that does it. Journal. Also, journaling, I cannot tell you enough how journaling has helped me. Journal and write down the feminine parts of yourself, what you know about them, and what you can do to nurture that, right? Do you love to crochet? Maybe take time out to do that. Are you a nurturer? Do you want to garden? These are little things that you need to give some thought to so that you're able to really tap into that feminine side of yourself. Because when there isn't a man in your life, then it's up to you to put yourself in that feminine energy, right? And really, I am the top dog in my life. I mean, I'm enjoying my experiences with Mr. Big, and they have helped tremendously. But at the end of the day, it's up to me to give myself the soft life, to make sure that I am able to tap into this side of myself and this energy and fully enjoy it. And so I hope this episode really helps you guys to see what happened for me, how I was finally able to tap into this energy, and the steps that you too can take, and how important it is to know that you are safe. It really is paramount. Knowing that you are safe is where it all begins. You can take it from there. Again, this is my second episode in a video format. I'm going to be doing a couple more. They're all going to be video format now, but this is probably one of the last ones where I'll really be alone. I have a lot of guests lined up. I've kind of been nervous and waiting to feel more comfortable with the video format itself, how I look. This is very hard for me, believe it or not. So, I've decided enough is enough. I allowed myself 2 episodes, but I'm going all in. Maybe there'll be an episode here or there throughout the year where I am solo, but for the most part, there will be guests on, and we will be discussing other women's stories, how they got where they're going, how they were able to revolutionize their lives, start over, achieve a fresh start, and what we can learn from them, and how we can build that community of women helping women who are starting over. Because at the end of the day, that is my goal. It is to build a community where we are helping women who were in the same place that I was a few years ago. Not sure how to start over, not sure if you could even leave, not sure what would happen if you left. And I want to make sure that any woman who is out there in the similar situation understands that you do have choices, that there are things that you can do. And at the end of the day, you are probably going to be better off and happier. In fact, I bet you anything, you're going to be better off and happier than you are right now. It can just be scary to take that leap. And so I hope, sharing my story and doing so now through the video format really helps any woman. If it helps one woman, it's more than enough. It's helping me. It's helping me to share with you guys, to be able to face what happened to me and to see, again, charting my evolution, charting how I'm changing. So I'm really excited for all of this. I really want to thank you guys for, again, sharing this journey with me, for hanging in there as I try out this video format, and for all of the really, really kind messages that you have sent me. I really appreciate all of your support. I've gotten quite a few messages and emails in regards to my body dysmorphia and other people who feel the same. And I just want you to know, I get it. I get it. I don't know how you guys see me, but I do not see me probably in the way that I really look. I have a very distorted view of what I actually look like. So trust me that I understand. And if you want to reach out and talk to me some more about, what body dysmorphia is like or how it's affecting you, please feel free to do so. We'll probably do an episode on it at some point in the future. My focus for the next few episodes is really rebirth, the rebirth of our minds, the rebirth of our bodies, and the rebirth of our spring, of our souls, now that spring is here. So I'm very excited to, for the next couple of episodes, for all of the different things that are coming. Actually have some projects in the works where I'm working with some local businesses, and we're going to be creating some events. So I'm very excited to share that with you guys as well. Again, thank you so much for listening. I'll be back next week with another episode and a guest. So thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. Besos.